The newly inaugurated CE visits members of the public in various districts. A high-stakes city assembly election in the Japanese capital. And Qatar rejects a list of demands set by Saudi Arabia and its allies.
Hello and a very good evening. Carrie Lam was out and about today conducting her first round of district visits, a day after taking up office as the chief executive. One of the stops had a poignant memory for Lam as she paid a visit to villagers in Ta Kwu Ling in the North District. The villagers were forced to relocate to make way for a government project while Lam was development chief. Leung has more.
Fresh from being sworn in as Hong Kong's first female CE, Carrie Lam wasted no time in meeting with the public. Her first stop, Chuk Yuen Village in Ta Kwu Ling in the North District. The village was relocated to its current site when the government announced the construction of the Heung Yuen White Control Point in 2008. Back then, Lam was Secretary for Development. Today, she returned as the SAR's top leader. Lam praised the villagers for their sacrifice, adding that some people had to make sacrifices for the development of society and that the decision to move the village was inevitable. At around 3 p.m., Lam arrived in Hong Kong for the second stop of her district tour. She visited Ka Wai Chun, a housing estate developed by the Hong Kong Housing Society. Lam said she wanted to meet with seniors in the district to understand more about their living conditions. She even brought along handover anniversary gift packs to give to the locals. Security was tight around the new CE as she was surrounded by large groups of people. Central and Western District was the final stop on Lam's first district visit as CE. She took a walk through a street carnival on Hollywood Road and popped into PMQ, the former police married quarters, which has been transformed into a design hub for local talent. Some protesters took the opportunity to hand over some petition letters to the new leader. After a full day of meeting the public across Hong Kong, Lam told reporters that she would ask her officials to go on more district visits. That's to fulfill her campaign promise that her government would have more interaction with the public. Leung, TVB News.
A member of the Legislative Council's Committee on Rules of Procedure says the Chief Executive's question and answer session with lawmakers looks set to change. Horace Leung, who's also a new member of the Executive Council, says the new CE has suggested going before the legislature to answer questions more frequently than in the past. Leung says Carrie Lam's new style of governance is aimed at keeping the CE's finger on the pulse of what Hong Kong needs. On Wednesday, Carrie Lam will be taking questions from lawmakers, just 5 days into her job as Chief Executive. The question and answer session, up until now, has been held 4 times a year. But that could change under a proposal by LegCo's Committee on Rules of Procedure, which suggests the CE meet lawmakers 1 to 2 times a month instead. It also suggested that the 1.5-hour session be cut down to 30 minutes, with a question and its answer limited to 2 minutes each. New Executive Councillor and DAB lawmaker Horace Leung told TVB News that the changes were put forward by the new CE herself. Leung believes that if she meets lawmakers more frequently, she'll be more up to date on what's happening in the community.
I think one of the major campaigns is that the government, they make up their mind in the office and they put forward the bill in the council, and that is at a very late stage, and there's no room for change of the policy. And I think that is quite, I can say quite, it's not appropriate, and it's quite difficult to get the support from the lawmakers.
Currently, lawmakers must submit their written questions to the government 7 days before the meeting. But that looks set to change to noon on the Friday before the meeting. The recommendations also outline that the government won't need to provide a written reply by the morning of the meeting. It's not a complete system shake-up, as the Q&A session will still be held 4 times a year, just with a sprinkling of extra dates during council meetings.
Change is important, but on the other hand, I think the new government, the chief executive also need to have a stable environment.
Leung added that with written questions, there's often a long queue to submit them, and they end up becoming outdated once they reach the government. When the question eventually gets heard, both sides cannot deviate from the written word, resulting in no real interaction between lawmakers and the government. The new recommendations would limit lawmakers' questions to 120 words, so more focus could be spent on each question. On his first day on the job, Chief Secretary for Administration Matthew Leung made clear that Carrie Lam is set on involving young people when it comes to policy making. It's been suggested that the Commission on Youth will become a statutory body chaired by Leung himself. Speaking on a radio programme this morning, the city's number 2 official also revealed that abolishing the mandatory Provident Fund offsetting mechanism and addressing the city's housing issues are at the top of the new administration's agenda. Leung added the government is also determined to streamline civil servants' working processes.
Overseas now, Qatar's foreign minister has rejected the list of demands set by Saudi Arabia and its allies for ending the standoff that has seen Doha shunned by its neighbours. Qatar says it still wants to negotiate a solution to the crisis, but will not comply with tomorrow's deadline, which it says is a violation of its sovereignty. Qatar is standing firm. Yesterday, Doha's foreign minister rejected the 13 demands made by Saudi Arabia and its allies to end the standoff that has seen the Gulf state isolated and economically sanctioned. He was speaking ahead of tomorrow's deadline set by Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Egypt for Doha to accept. Qatar's top diplomat explained the ultimatum was aimed at crippling the nation's sovereignty.
This list of demands made to be rejected. It's not made to be accepted or not made to be negotiated. The state of Qatar, instead of rejecting it as a principle.
The foreign minister added any country is free to raise their grievances with Qatar. But he said such conflicts should be worked out through negotiation, not by imposing ultimatums. And the diplomat stressed his country is not afraid of retaliation, even a military response, for refusing to meet the deadline.
Qatar is prepared to face whatever consequences it is. But as I have mentioned to you that there is an international law which should not be violated, and there is a border which should not be crossed.
One of the most controversial demands is to shut down the broadcaster Al Jazeera, which Qatar's neighbours say is a propaganda tool of Doha, an accusation rejected by the channel. Other demands include severing Qatar's alleged ties with terrorist groups, downgrading its relations with Iran, and closing a Turkish base in the country. Saudi Arabia and its allies say the demands are not negotiable and warned further unspecified measures will follow if Qatar does not comply.
Polls have just closed in Tokyo in a high-stakes city assembly election that could alter national politics. At stake are 127 assembly seats in an election considered to be a referendum on Governor Yuriko Koike's year in office. Opinion polls have predicted a sweeping victory for her populist Tokyoites' first party. Koike, who defected from Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's scandal-hit Liberal Democratic Party last month, has approval ratings of about 60%. The former TV newscaster and ex-defence minister is rumoured to be eyeing a return to Parliament to run for Prime Minister. She's portrayed the male-dominated assembly as a place of murky politics run by an old boys' club. The result of the Tokyo election has, in the past, set the tone for national polls.
Police in the U.S. state of Arkansas are looking for the suspects involved in yesterday's shooting at a nightclub in Little Rock. At least 28 people were wounded from an 11-second melee, which police say may have been gang-related. The volley of gunfire inside the Power Ultra Lounge came so fast that investigators believe multiple people had to have been involved. Police officials credited quick work by first responders for there being no fatalities. Officials say 25 people suffered gunshot wounds and 3 others were hurt, perhaps while fleeing. Staying in the United States, the Illinois man charged with kidnapping a Chinese visiting scholar now believed to be dead was among the few admitted to the University of Illinois' competitive physics graduate program in 2013. Brent Allen Christensen originally planned to earn a doctorate degree but told his graduate advisor last year he had changed his mind. Christensen is in custody before a court appearance tomorrow in the June 9th kidnapping of Jiang Yingying. Weeks ago, Jiang arrived at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign to conduct research in agricultural sciences, and she had planned to start her doctorate in the fall. Her body hasn't been found.
Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert was released on parole today from prison after serving 16 months in jail for corruption. Olmert was found guilty in 2014 of accepting bribes from real estate developers when he was Jerusalem's mayor, before his term as Prime Minister and head of a centrist political party. The corruption allegations led to Olmert's resignation as Prime Minister in September 2008. He stayed in office in a caretaker capacity until a February 2009 election brought current leader Benjamin Netanyahu to power. Still ahead in the news. A series of bomb explosions in the Syrian capital. The Hong Kong Journalists Association worries about self-censorship getting worse. And Manny Pacquiao loses WBO welterweight title on points to Jeff Jordan.
Welcome back to TVB News. At least 7 people were killed and 12 others injured in a series of bomb blasts in the Syrian capital Damascus today. One of the explosions was set off by a suicide bomber after he was encircled by security forces. State TV said the attacker blew himself up near Tahrir Square in central Damascus. Footage from the scene shows a building badly damaged and mangled vehicles parked nearby. State media said security forces intercepted 2 car bombs at an entrance to the city and foiled a plot to target crowded areas. All this happened on the first day back to work after the long Muslim holiday that follows Ramadan. Such attacks have been relatively rare in Damascus, the seat of power for President Bashar al-Assad's regime.
World leaders and ordinary Germans have said goodbye to Helmut Kohl. The former Chancellor, who died on June the 16th at the age of 87, steered his country towards reunification in 1990 and helped ensure the peace and stability which has shaped Europe to this day. James Aitken reports.
Past and present leaders from around the world paid tribute to Kohl yesterday at the European Parliament in the French city of Strasbourg, next to the border with Germany. Kohl was the first person to be honored with an official memorial event by the European Union. EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said Kohl was both a German patriot and a European patriot. He called Kohl a giant of the post-war period who will be in the pages of history forever. Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev said Kohl was not just an architect of German reunification, but an architect of the existing world. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton said Kohl wanted to create a world in which no one dominated.
Helmut Kohl gave us the chance to be involved in something bigger than ourselves, bigger than our terms of office, bigger than our fleeting careers, because all of us, sooner or later, will be in a coffin like that. And the only gift we can leave behind is a better future for our children.
During his 16-year term as Germany's leader, ending in 1998, Kohl skillfully overcame the fears of Germany's neighbors when reunification of East and West Germany first became a realistic possibility in the late 1980s. He later spearheaded the creation of the euro currency, which is now used by 19 nations. Following the ceremony, Kohl's casket was taken across the Rhine River to his hometown before being transported by a riverboat to the nearby town of Speyer, the resting place of many rulers of the Holy Roman Empire. Cole considered the Spire Cathedral a symbol of European unity. The Mass ended with a rare funeral toll from the cathedral's Emperor Bell. Cole's casket was later carried out into the open for military honors. The former leader was then laid to rest in a private ceremony at a nearby cemetery. James Aiken, TVB News.
China has launched a Long March 5 Y-2 carrier rocket from the Wenchang Space Launch Center in Hainan province. The heavy-lift carrier rocket, which is carrying the Xijian-18 satellite, uses 3 types of liquid propellant. Today's launch is the last drill for the Long March 5 series before it carries the Chang'e 5 lunar probe into space in the latter half of this year. The Long March 5 made its maiden flight in November. 8 launches of Long March 5 have been scheduled for the coming years for the nation's lunar probe, manned space station and Mars probe missions.
Back locally, the Hong Kong Journalists Association has expressed renewed concerns today about press freedom. The group worries that growing investment from the mainland could have a chilling effect on Hong Kong's media. Rachel Leung reports.
In its annual report, the Hong Kong Journalists Association says the city's press freedom is under threat. The group noted that 9 out of 26 mainstream media outlets in the SAR are now partly owned by mainland interests. The HKJA fears the situation could have a serious chilling effect, which could exacerbate the problem of self-censorship and increase worries about freedom of expression.
We saw cases that after the infiltration of the Chinese capital, some media outlets' practice has been questioned by the industry. And so we are afraid that as a policymaker, Chinese capital or the biggest shareholder of a media outlet will affect the media policy, especially the news coverage. And this will definitely arouse self-censorship.
The association says the government has made matters worse, adding to worries about transparency.
Being government officials announcing or express their own view through the microblog or FB, instead of facing the journalists asking questions to communicate on behalf of the society, will make the policy less popular and less open. And such secretive measures will only increase untrust among the society and the government.
The journalism watchdog is urging the new administration to defend Hong Kong's high degree of autonomy by introducing an archives law to ensure citizens and reporters get proper access to government information and documents. Rachel Leung, TVB News.
A mainland naval formation, including the country's first aircraft carrier, has entered the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan's military said it scrambled jets and Navy ships to shadow the Liaoning, which is on its way to Hong Kong as part of the handover celebrations. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defence said today that the mainland's battle group, headed by the Liaoning aircraft carrier, had entered Taiwan's air defence identification zone at around 4 p.m. yesterday. Under the island's military regulations, the ministry said it dispatched aircraft and ships to monitor the formation's movement and would take responsive action in the event of any abrupt situation. But it added that no such situation had occurred. State media reported that the flotilla, comprising the Liaoning, the destroyers Jinnan and Jinquan, the frigate Yantai and a squadron of J-15 fighter jets and helicopters, left the base in Qingdao in Shandong province on June the 25th. The Liaoning is scheduled to make a 5-day port call in Hong Kong this Friday. Included in this long line of people braving the rain this morning were military enthusiasts hoping to board the Liaoning during that port call. This man says his wish is to visit China's first aircraft carrier, and he's looking forward to seeing the advances in his country's military technology. But he would have left disappointed, as the tickets being carried out today are not for the aircraft carrier. A total of 36,000 entry tickets were being given out for the PLA's Hong Kong garrison, which will open its barracks in Nong Shun Chau Naval Base, Shek Kong and San Wai next weekend. The tickets were available at the Shek Kong, San Wai, Central, Kowloon East, Gun Club Hill and Tam Mei barracks from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. today. All right, we're in the boxing ring, Tony, with Jeff Horn. I do apologise, not John. Jeff Horn.
Yes, Jeff Horn. Yes, it was a bit of an upset, yeah. Well, right. I thought Pac-Man had it, but there you go, that's sport. In a shocking boxing upset, Australian Jeff Horn won a 12-round unanimous decision over Manny Pacquiao. However, there was controversy as many people thought the Pac-Man was the clear winner of the action-packed fight in Brisbane. James Wong has more.
The judges scored the fight 117-111, 115-113, 115-113. All for one, all for Horn. That's despite the Pac-Man nearly ending the fight in the 9th round with his trademark punches in bunches. According to Fight Stats, the Filipino landed almost twice as many blows as the younger Australian. But it's the hometown hero who left the ring with the WBO welterweight championship belt, improving his record to 17-0-1. In the Philippines, this man said the decision was obviously biased, while this fan said an accidental headbutt slowed down his man. The fighting senator from General Santos City was gracious in defeat. He was also famously robbed of victory in his first fight with American Timothy Bradley. Pacquiao said he would welcome a rematch with Horn. Jamison Wong, TVB News.
Britain's Geraint Thomas wears the yellow jersey after the first stage of the Tour de France. There were numerous crashes during the opening time trial, which was held on the wet roads of Düsseldorf in Germany. Spain's Alejandro Valverde was among the casualties. The overall race contender suffered a broken kneecap and will be sidelined for several months. Three-time champion Chris Froome finished 6th, 12 seconds behind his teammate Thomas. The support rider needed just 16 minutes to cover the 14-kilometre ride up and down the banks of the Rhine River. Stage 2 is a mostly flat trek to the city of Liège in Belgium. Tennis now, and Novak Djokovic defeated Gael Monfils to win the Eastbourne International. The scores were 6-3 and 6-4. The Serb remained perfect against Monfils, improving his record to 14-0 against the Frenchman. Djokovic faces Slovakia's Martin Klizan in the first round of Wimbledon. This year's third Grand Slam gets underway tomorrow. Djokovic is seated second behind defending champion Andy Murray.
And that brings us to the end of our news. Thank you for watching.
Have a very good night.
Bye-bye.
Good evening. It was mainly cloudy with showers and a few thunderstorms today. A southerly airstream is bringing showers to the coast of Guangdong. Up until 5 p.m., today's temperatures ranged from 26.2 to 30.3 degrees, and the relative humidity was between 79 and 91%. 8.8 millimeters of rainfall has been recorded since midnight last night. The current temperature is 30 degrees Celsius with the relative humidity standing at 80%. So Freddie, how's the weather tomorrow? Mainly cloudy with occasional showers and isolated thunderstorms tonight and tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 26 to 30 degrees. There will be sunny intervals as the week progresses. Rain will follow towards the weekend. Tomorrow's air quality health index will be low. The maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 5. Now to the latest global weather update. Rain in Shanghai, thunderstorms in Taipei, cloudy in Xiamen. Rain in Guangzhou, showers in Macau, cloudy in Chengdu. Cloudy in Beijing and Tokyo, rain in Seoul. Thunderstorms in Bangkok, rain in Ho Chi Minh City and Manila.